I'll never forget this because, again, your championship years coincided with the years that I was covering the World Series for ESPN Radio all those years ago when I had hair. But I'm also a native New Yorker, born in Brooklyn, raised in Staten Island. I'll never, ever forget Game 3 of the 2001 World Series when the series moves back to New York, and it was, in the aftermath of 9/11, and the president was throwing out the first pitch, and George Bush was there, and I just remember being on the field beforehand and seeing helicopters everywhere and snipers on the roof, and it was a fraught night for just covering it. What was it like playing in that game, Paul?
You know what? I look back at that time, and that's the one World Series that I don't think about the outcome. I think about those three games and what was happening in the world. And as a player, you think that what does baseball really mean to somebody that's just lost a loved one or something like that. But you saw what it meant. I mean, it brought joy to some people at a time, and those three games, obviously, historically, just the way they ended and the excitement and the part of it was unbelievable. I remember running sprints before the game, and Scott Brocious and I kind of just stopped and watched President Bush throw a strike in there, and we were so relieved once he was off the field because it was like we don't know what's happening in the world now, and those nights were very strange, and we've gone through something recently with the pandemic the past couple of years, so it's things go through sports, but I'll never forget that time in New York and what the people. How they backed the Yankees, and it was just like they needed something to get away from life at that point. And those three games, to me, were as important to New York as they were for us.
I want to tell this one story again, because we just talked about that 2001 World Series, and I was there the night that Bush threw out that first pitch, and the first night back in the Bronx, and every single time the 4 train went by in right field, I held my breath. When O'Neill said that he and Brocious stopped running in the outfield to watch Bush throw the first pitch, and it was a strike, and he was wearing body armor and everything. I mean, what
on the roof?
I mean, honestly, it was like Fort Apache, the Bronx, in the Bronx, and it was frightening. Every single time that 4 train rumbled by, and for him to say that they were relieved when Bush left the field safely. Damn straight. That is exactly the way we all felt. And then the games. Being in the tunnel, okay? Being in the tunnel. I've told this story. I'll just tell it again real briefly. I was in the tunnel the night that Jeter hit that home run for Mr. November. I was in the tunnel that night. The walk-off. And the entire media was in the old Yankee Stadium. There were 2 ways to get on the field. Through the tunnel of attached to each dugout. That's it. Okay. So the losing team, that would be the tunnel you would have to vacate because they have to leave the field and the umpires and all that. The winning team, you go out that tunnel as the media because they're out on the field celebrating. Except in a game that went back and forth in extra innings, we had to run from one tunnel to the other based on the fact that, okay, one team's up, we need to line up in that tunnel. Another team's, the last at-bat could be for the home team, we got to go in their tunnel. And we would run back and forth between each tunnel.
How many people would you say?
Had to be 50.
Wow.
And it looked like the Benny Hill show. Like, honestly, like you could play yakety sax because the people who were running had cameras and boom mics and first responders had to go with us. And it was running. You had to go run behind home plate. Up. No, we go in the Diamondback dugout. Nope. Okay, we got to come back here.
Approximate distance, would you say, Rich?
Oh, man. Had to be hundreds of feet.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Go from one dugout to one locker room around home plate to the other one? Oh, yeah. So we're lined up in the Yankee dugout, and we don't know what's going on. I have the feed of the radio in my ear, but it went out underneath Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
And there was one, I don't know who sat in there, probably a trainer or some, I don't know. There was one little room with a small TV, this little room that was cut into this walkway that probably where Babe Ruth kept his smokes or his honestly, I kept thinking, like, is this where he left his bottle of gin or whatever? Honestly, like this little room probably had its own history to it that I would love to have told.
Mickey Mantle.
This is the old Yankee Stadium. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? You have no idea what was going on in that little room, but there was this little TV, and either you were lucky to be lined up. Like one time I was in the tunnel. I was lined up with it so I could see what was going on. This time, though, I was beyond it. And as I forget who was there for Fox, they had the first position in the line every time because they were the television rights holders. And then I was second for ESPN Radio. We were the radio rights holders. And I think Charlie Steiner was in there, too, because he was the ESPN reporter for SportsCenter, too. We were all there. And then Jeter hits that home run. And I will never forget, you heard a thunder. Paul O'Neill said that he felt the Yankee Stadium ground shake when he touched home plate on that game-winning hit from Joe Girardi, or the go-ahead run for Joe Girardi in Game 6 of the 1996 World Series. You felt the stadium shake, and then somebody screams, Jeter just homered.
Wow.
Somebody's getting go, and then people are going to be go. Like, get out there. And I have goosebumps saying it. I get out. I'm one of the first out of the tunnel. And I'll never forget, I looked up because I wanted to see what the crowd looked like. And everyone was in the stands jumping for joy, throwing crap on, it was just like New Year's Eve, throwing stuff out. And I watched Jeter around third. That's how I got out. I got out there before he touched home plate. And I remember looking up because those were the seats I used to be in that old Yankee Stadium when I grew up going in the stadium. You get those bleacher seats, not out in the bleachers, but the last 5 rows of the stadium we would go to, and I would watch the Stump Merrill Yankees, and they were garbage. Holy crap, were they awful. And I just remember thinking to myself what that kid would think of that used to sit up there being on the field watching this thing. And, of course, I would get a hold of myself and be a professional, but I will never forget that moment. Mr. November, because it went on after midnight. Thanks to Byung-Hyun Kim, and he couldn't close some of those games, man, for the Diamondbacks.
Brutal.
And then, of course, the fact that neither Schilling nor Johnson were on the mound in Yankee Stadium kind of helped out because they were the ones who won in games 1, 2, 6, and 7 in that World Series. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.